Hey guys, welcome to this episode. Oh, you were going to start, weren't you?
It's fine.
You go ahead.
All good.
All right, welcome to this episode of L3 Book Review. We've got a super awesome book. Well, we've got a super awesome review for you today. Kathy, do you want to tell us the book that we are reviewing?
Yes, absolutely. So we read mostly The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynn, and it's narrated by Colin Mace. And this book was 18 hours long.
Which, if you are a fantasy reader and you are used to, like, I'm used to books being 40 hours long, that is a pretty typical fantasy book length.
It's long. It was long for me.
All right, so if you guys have ever listened to our book reviews before, you know that this first little part is going to be non-spoilery, and then we will get into tropes and spoils after we give you just kind of a breakdown of what we thought about this book without including any spoils.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that.
Yep.
Do you want to get started on the book, or do you want me to take off this first part?
So you can take off because I honestly don't even know all of the main, like, who's important and who's not in this story. So you can do it.
Yeah. So this book has three different plot lines. They are all completely no. Three different stories. The plot line, I imagine, is kind of woven in between with each other, but there's three completely different stories between Orca, Varg, and Elvar. And I could be saying those wrong because I'm great with names.
Who's Elvar?
Elvar was the Battle Grim one. She was the one who her father.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's two or three completely different storylines with these different characters. They do not merge at all until the very end, and that's where it's interesting. But anyways, it is a Norse-inspired world. It is not directly. It doesn't seem like it's directly the Norse gods, but it is. You could tell it's very heavily Norse-inspired. It is a very, very richly detailed book, almost to the point of over detailed. That was something that and Kathy had a big trouble with, is just kind of finding the plot line through the detail. But yeah, it's a story about three different warriors. They all have kind of their own unique story of what's going on with them. Orca is the not Orca. Wait, how do you say that?
Orca.
Is it Orca?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Okay, okay. I feel like I'm saying the whale Orca, but I think that's right.
That's how he pronounced it, was Orca.
Yeah. So she is just this mom and wife, and it starts off with just her story and kind of her line. And then it goes into Varg, who was a former slave, and then he has this storyline, this thing with his sister. And then Elvar, she is the daughter of this Jarl, so he's just this high ranking guy. Jarls in this story are they're similar to kings, but not so much kingdom. It's more of like providences and stuff like that. And then they do have kings and queens in this story as well. But Elvar, she joins a battle grim, which is kind of like this band of warriors who goes out and just raids the land for money and does all this different stuff to obtain battle glory and that sort of
Almost
thing.
like land pirates or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you think of kind of Vikings when they raid the towns and things, that's it. But there's less traveling on the ships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then so I feel like Orca's story is super entwined with Brecca, though, right? And like, right?
Yeah. So Brecca's her son, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Which Brecca, he doesn't have his own storyline, but that Orca is his mom, so her storyline, yes, it is very heavily entwined with his in what happens with him.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like that the story for Orca, um, I was kind of enjoying that part of the story. Um, because it was there was definitely something in her past that they kept, kind of flash or hinting towards along the way. That probably would have made it far more interesting for me if that would have been somewhat revealed more along the way. But yeah,
Yeah.
Elvard, I
So,
don't really remember much about her, to be honest with you. So
I think one of my biggest problems with this, and I think you can agree to this, is it should have been three separate books, I feel like.
yes,
I think that would have made it, because I had the same problem with you of like when it would shift to these other characters, I was kind of like mixing them all together. And it wasn't really until the end where their stories felt more distinct that I was able to separate them more. But I want to say over halfway through, it felt like I was just kind of muddling through it.
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't even like the stories didn't even the different plot lines or whatever for each of them didn't even it wasn't even separated by a chapter. Like it was hopping around within the same chapter, which was hella confusing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it, and I don't know how it would look on paper because we did do the audiobook of this. I don't know, I can't remember if like it started off with their separate names, but even that it wasn't distinct enough to pull me out of one story and put me into another.
No, and I think that was another thing that I had a problem with is that I couldn't really tell one name from the other or the differences of who they were based on their name, except for Orca and Brecca. Like those were the only ones that I knew. Oh, okay, so I'm back to this storyline. The other ones, what was the slave's name?
Varg.
Varg. Yeah, I kind of, excuse me, I kind of knew that he like was having his own plot line, but I just struggled because it didn't ever like pull together for me. I mean, and full disclosure, I DNF'd this book because I just couldn't.
How far did you make it into it?
I made it to where
Well, yeah, if there's
yeah,
spoilers,
we
we'll
should wait. It was
yeah. Was there a
maybe
percentage?
maybe a quarter, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like chapter 10 or something. No, it was further than
Okay.
that.
Yeah, because I think I don't remember how many chapters were in it, but it was a
It
big
was
book.
after the tree incident. Does that
Okay.
help without giving too many spoilers away?
No, because I'm right there with you. Like the beginning was so muddled together.
Yeah.
I feel like it was the beginning and then the good part.
Yeah, and I never got to the good part. It was not worth
Yeah.
the extra hours of just befuddlement to get to it. I was like,
Let me see how many chapters there were.
and where's my phone? I can see where I got. I still had almost 11 hours left. So,
Oh yeah. Okay. Um yeah, so there was so it did change, or it looks like it changed with each chapter. It looks like it did change different point of views. It just
well,
didn't
they
feel
didn't
like it.
specify then. They didn't say chapter whatever, 1
Yeah.
million Varg or something.
53 is where it ends.
Yeah. I want to read the summary for them real quick, just so
Okay.
we at least give the book a fair.
You just want to hear your own voice.
I do. Do y'all like this?
Kath, yeah, we're upgrading. Kathy's upgrading,
Yeah.
and it just upgrades the podcast quality. So you guys are welcome to be able to hear Kathy's amazing, crispy, nice, clean voice now.
Thanks. Okay, the summary for this. From acclaimed fantasy author John Gwynne comes the first in the Bloodsworn trilogy, an epic of wildlands and wilder magic, where not all monsters fight with tooth and claw, and the treasures of the gods come at a price. This is an age of storm and murder. After the old gods after the old gods warred and drove themselves to extinction, the cataclysm of their fall shattered the land of Vigrio. Sorry, these words are rough for me. Now, power hungry Jarls carve out petty kingdoms and monsters stalk the shadow haunted woods and mountains. A world where the bones of the dead gods still hold great power, promising fame and fortune for those brave or desperate enough to seek them out. As whispers of war echo over the plains and across the fjords, fate follows the footsteps of three people: a huntress searching for her missing son, a Jarl's daughter who has rejected privilege in pursuit of battle fame, and a thrall who has cast off his chains and now fights alongside the famed mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. All three will shape the fate of the world as it once more teeters on the edge of chaos.
Yeah. And so Vigrid, which is the name of the place, I do love how much Norse mythology it pulls in, because that is the place that is considered to be the final battle at Ragnarok, which is actually Norse mythology stuff. So I do enjoy that side of things. There was a lot of Norse mythology things in this that I felt were great. It was just lost in
The
the
minutia.
switching of the stories and the detail. But there's another cool thing that I would like to bring up that for the listeners. The I don't know. Do you think that would be spoilers to kind of explain the people who were slaves, the thralls, like why they were slaves?
I don't think so.
So the people who were thralls had blood, they were descendants from the gods. They were the children of the gods. They had the blood of the gods in them. The gods were cast out in this world. They were not something that people worshipped anymore. Even like a lot of the stories and the sagas about the gods were shamed and weren't allowed to be talked about. And the people who were descendants of them were enslaved and became the thralls, which is the slaves of this world.
Those were the tainted,
So,
right?
yep,
In the
yep,
story.
yep. Um, so with that being said, I think that that gives you a pretty good idea of what this book is. If you like very, very heavily rich, detailed worlds, this book is for you 100%. If you and the way that I keep describing this is if you think of Tolkien, but less plot line and more detail, I think that you get a pretty good idea of
Yeah.
just how detailed this book is.
Yeah. Yeah. It was overwhelming for me. But if you, I mean, definitely, I mean, I feel like the depth of the writing and the world building that he did was really incredible. I mean, that was quite incredible. For me, and I'm not a normal just fantasy reader, it was overwhelming just because I found myself rewinding because I felt like I was missing something in the whole ultra detail. So that's probably
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
was only on chapter or, 10 hours left, 11 hours
Yeah.
left.
And I thought, because I love Norse mythology, I love all of that, and I am a very avid fantasy reader. I thought this was gonna be like a top 10 for me. I lost it in the separate storylines. I think that that's really where I lost it. And because I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to read book 2, I have read that it does get better in the other books, which a lot of fantasy books do. So I'm thinking about giving book 2 a try. I know Kathy DNF'd it. I it's not my favorite. It's not top, but I love the world. The world is very vastly created. It is very closely related to Norse mythology. Yeah, I'm still on the fence about that though. So if you guys have read this and you're excited to go into the next part where we're going to get into spoilers, and you have read the other books, let us know, is it worth it for me to continue reading?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So this is your chance. If you don't want to be spoiled with tropes and then the spoilery part, this is your chance to sign off and join us on the next one.
Yep. All right. Are they gone?
I think so.
Okay, so this one is the tropes of this book. I'm definitely gonna have to go with, there's revenge, there is vengeance, there is
Magic.
magic, heavy magic. It seems like there is going to be a chosen one narrative. That kind of comes out more in the end. So that's one. Found family is really huge in this.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely with
oh,
Vargs, especially.
yes, yeah. Oh, I know. I loved how that was developing towards the end too. So there's spoilers that you're gonna hear about this book since you haven't read
Good,
it all the way through too,
good,
that I'm excited to talk about.
good.
But also I would say grimdark too, because the description of the battles and the like the blood and the
Oof.
gore and all of that, it is very descriptive.
And people died. People died.
Yeah, yeah, lots of people,
Lots of people
and
died.
gruesomely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not all the good people made it. There's no happy
Yeah.
ever after for some of these
Oh
people, which was
yeah.
kind of sad
Yeah.
for one specifically.
Yes.
But
Yep.
yeah. So I would agree with
Yep.
you that this is probably a grimdark thing for
Yeah.
sure. Um, the other thing that, and I don't even know if it's a trope or whatever, but I love the befriending of the
Creatures.
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were they called in there?
Spurt? No.
Venin. Venin?
Th-
Was it Venin?
no, that's what's his face. It's close.
Oh, shit. Fourth Wing got it real quick.
Shadow Daddy coming in to
Yeah.
set it straight.
Oh my god, other spoiler. We might need to cut that part out. Oh
I
my
feel
gosh.
like we have to do our own book review of those.
Oh my god, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Um shit, what were they called? I can't. Okay, anyways, they're the creatures, they have their own name in this world.
Because are we talking about the wasn't he
Like
like a little
Spurt
dragon or something?
and
Well, Spurt, I don't know what that guy was.
Vesley.
Vesley.
That she was like a in my mind, I'm picturing her of like this almost like tooth fairy, like a creepy ass tooth fairy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stealing teeth. Yes. He was cute. I'm a creature person, you
Slow
can tell.
fucking burn plot. Slow burn
We're not
plot.
talking
That is a
romance,
trope of
people.
this book.
We're
We're not
talking.
talking about the slow burn plot.
But okay, I have a question when we get to the spoilers.
Okay. Badass female protagonists.
True.
100%.
Yeah.
They're some shield maidens in this book.
Yep. Coming of age probably for Brecca eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think Varg's pretty young too. Oh, actually, so is I think they're so coming of age because so is Elvar. And then I don't know if this is a trope or not, but hidden identity and hidden like past and like mystery past. That's another one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Definitely some triggers. There is violence,
Mm-hmm.
very explicit, gory violence. So
Yeah.
if you don't like that or you have a weak stomach, don't read this. Just don't.
Yeah, I think this would make an amazing movie. If I could watch this and see the detail and not have it described to me, I think this would probably be one of my favorite movies.
Maybe.
I think it would be one of my favorite movies.
The number of times that I heard about the snot being flicked off of their nose was fucking ridiculous. I'm like, Jesus, okay, it's cold. We get it. We get it. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I was like, again? No. No.
All right, guys. So that is the tropes, non-spoilery. If you do not want to hear spoils, leave now, exit. See you later. Sayonara. 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 See you tomorrow.
Sayonara. See you mañana. Of course, we will not see you. Oh, but we might see you tomorrow.
We might see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You won't know this because this
'Cause
recording will drop
later.
after we do that.
That's okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. Spoilers.
Yeah. Okay. So Orca was I cannot see, this is another detail thing. She was a part of the Battle Grim. I think that's who she was with before. She was a warrior who was heavily involved in, I want to say it was let me double check that really quick.
It sounds right, because wasn't she nervous to see somebody from?
It was her brother. Yeah. So hang on. Let me get my facts here really quick, but I'm pretty sure
I don't know if you can hear that or not, but I'm putting the blanket over my toes.
You're good. Yes. So no. Not the Battle Grim. What was it?
Didn't know. Was it the people that were part of like the queen's whatever that were queen? I don't know.
And she might. Yes. No. There was another one. Why can I not think of what they were called? Okay, there were two different fighting groups. There was the Battle Grim, and then there was the other one. She was a part of the other one, and it was her brother who was like the head guy of it, with Varg. With Varg.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
The
Let me
Bloodsworn.
think what it was.
What's the Bloodsworn?
The Bloodsworn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying the Battle Grim. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes.
So there's the Bloodsworn, and then there's
the Battle Grim.
Oh, okay.
Which is what
Elvar is.
Elvar
or whatever. Okay.
And so at the very end, the Bloodsworn goes into oh my gosh, see, I'm gonna mix them up, the Battle Grim and the Bloodsworn. I think it was the Battle Grim. They go across the bridge to where all the dead gods' bones and stuff were, and they unlock one of the gods. They unlock the dragon god. They like get her out. She breaks out, and she goes into the world, and she's like collecting all of her thralls, all of the people that are descended of her, and they're gonna go fuck some shit up, and that's how it ends. The end of the book ends with her coming out and just it's intense. Do you remember? So I'm gonna forget his name too. Oh my gosh, these names are bad. Elvar's guy who was with her and protecting her. Their story is so sweet. He is so protective of her, and he almost dies in the end.
What?
And it was so sad. The Vesely, those little creatures, when they get ready to go into this world, they like thousands of them just start crawling out of the ground and like just plucking, like raking at people's faces and plucking their teeth out, and it's so good. But one of them hits him on the back of the head, and he almost dies because oh my gosh, it was so good. Why can't I think of his name? Grim? No. Gwynne. I think it's Gwynne. Yeah, I think it's Gwynne. Grind. Maybe. Yeah.
Was that when the worms? That's different from the worms. Is that this book? Did the worms?
Oh no, there were the worms. Yep. The worms were in this one. That was where they were laying down and they were sleeping by that tree, and the worms came up and was crawling down people's throats, and oh yeah,
up their nose and shit. But I'm so okay. So that part of the story with the whatever he is, a berserker or whatever he is, the shifter probably of some sort, and then the siren, the mom, and then the kid, which I don't know what the kid is, but I bet there's going to be like an interesting. Did they die or anything?
I think so. I'm not sure. I cannot remember exactly what they're doing with all the kids. That part still seems very unclear to me, but she doesn't get him in the end. She is still trying to find him by the end. She meets with her brother, and they find out that they're taking the kids for something to do with the gods. I'm not sure. But their bloodline, so Orca's bloodline, I think, was the wolf. I'm pretty sure that it was the wolf. And at the very end, Varg finds out that he is a tainted too. And everyone in the Bloodsworn is tainted, and they don't tell anyone. No one knows that they're tainted. And they're a very revered band in this world, and how they were collecting people to join them. It's because that they did the battle, and then once people get close to death, that's when they start showing their abilities. So that's when she fucked Varg up, and he was able to pull out and still go in there and fight that guy. So then they take him under their wing, but just because they have the tainted blood doesn't mean that they're not going to rat them out. It doesn't mean that their oaths are worth anything. So that's why they won't accept him into it until he does the oath, which swears he will not tell anyone else about them being bloodsworn or tainted.
Yeah,
so
because I do remember there was that battle where he made his first kill when the queen or whatever she is came. But so the people were they trying to take Varg or someone else? And
Oh,
the
oh,
battle sworn were like, no, he's a part of us now.
I think that you're talking. So, what happened was is Varg, him and his sister were slaves, and then when they got sold separately. Didn't go to the same place. Oh, no, they did go to the same place, but he ended up selling off his sister. And
The
then
guy, the owner.
mm-hmm, yeah, the owner
And then
of
she died,
Varg and his sister.
apparently.
And then she died. So the reason why he knows that she died is because they're blood sworn, and he felt her death. And he felt her die, and he was connected to her, and but he doesn't know how she died or who did it. And that's what his mission was, is he needed to find one of those witches to relive her last moments of life. And they're like, you know that you're going to feel this. And he's like, I already did. I already felt all of it. And um, so that means she was tainted too, because they were connected through blood and everything. And I love him. I really like him. Out of all of them, I think he's my favorite. He wasn't at first, because he felt like such a just, I don't understand what you're doing. I don't have enough detail to be attached to you. But by the end of it, it was, I think he is one of my favorites. But Orca, oh my gosh, she teams up with those boys whose dad died, and they
Oh,
were trying to get vengeance on him.
yeah.
She teams up with them, and that snotty nosed dude is like hunting them down and trying to kill them because they tried to assassinate him again after that. Um, but she is a fucking badass. She just walks into this tavern at one point, and there's like 12 people in there, and it's just her, and she just starts laying into them because she thinks Orca's in there, or Brekka's in there. um and it gets, like I said, those last 2 hours. Hey, no one wants to see you scratching.
Maybe I just need to skip up to the last. I wouldn't miss
Maybe.
much.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, there was the beginning, and then there was the good part. I don't remember much of anything else. Um, it was, I hate to say this, but it was a lot of background noise. Like when I was listening to it, I felt like it was just, I was missing a lot of
It
stuff,
was
and it was just like, I'm
exhausting.
not gonna.
I'm not gonna lie. It was exhausting to listen to it because I very much like to catch everything. Like I want to
Mm-hmm.
know if they're saying it to me. It's like, okay, it must be important, but it really fucking wasn't. Like
Yeah.
so much of it was not important um for that, which was a shame because I think that
Yeah.
his story got lost in the
Well,
overload of detail.
and I think, okay, so I think that there's a really good balance with like when you foreshadow stuff and there's things that are behind the curtain, right? That the reader doesn't know, but the author does. I think that there's a really good balance of letting the reader know what's behind the curtain enough to hook them and get invested, versus all of it just being this big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
Which it was. Everything was this big reveal at the end, and it was like, I I pushed through it for the review. I'm not gonna lie, if we weren't reviewing it, I don't know if I would have pushed through it to the really good stuff at the end.
Yeah, and I clearly didn't. So,
Yeah. I hate that, because this is one of the first fantasy books you've ever done, and it was like, holy shit, did we really fantasy you in your first book? So I would be interested, after we do a couple more that are not so bang, um, coming back and maybe trying this one again.
maybe the one that Aaron narrated will be better. Like
Yeah,
one of the
we'll try
Christmas
that out.
ones.
Oh, I'm excited for those.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I'm just trying to think. The sad, of course, it was so sad when. Is she pregnant?
no.
Sure.
No, but they were just about to try. Well, okay. I don't know. So far, there has been no, like, but I know, how fucking sad was that? Let's try for, he needs a baby, he needs a sibling to help with the chores. I love the logistics behind it. Um, but, and then he died. He died so fucking
Oh,
brutally. And then, whenever she finds him, the guy who kills him, he tells her, he's like, he put up a good fight, but he died screaming like a stuck pig. Like, it was, oh yeah.
and Vesely like tried to protect them and stuff.
So Vesley and uh What is that? What was the snake's name?
Spurt. Is it a snake?
Spurt.
It's a snake?
I thought it was a snake. Snake-ish type thing. Like I'm
Didn't it
picturing
have
like a
like
legs,
legs and stuff? More like
like
a
segments.
centipede or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah, I guess I get yeah, more of like a centipede,
We're
but the
not gonna have
snaky
snakes.
body, the
No,
long.
no, no. We're not gonna have snakes in our stories.
So they save Orca in the end.
Do
Orca is
they?
about to, yes, they are about to, she is like about to be done, and they bust through the top of this fucking tavern and get her out and save her. Yep,
Thusly
yep.
save,
And
thusly protect
she
Orca.
oh, I know,
Thusly
I like
protect,
Vesely.
thusly sworn to Orca.
And Brecca, yeah.
Brecca.
Yep. Um, and then let's see. So yeah, so there's the names. The names are gonna kill me. I can't. It's hard for me to describe this because it reminds me a lot of anime with the names, how similar they are to each other. But anime, it doesn't take me this long to get the names sorted out. Like I can
And I'm
normally do
pretty good
pretty
with
well with that.
names. And yeah.
I'm so shit with names.
And this was just like it was too much. It was too much.
Yeah. I love, like I said, I love the Norse mythology inspiration for this. There's, the gods, and it feels like they're trying to replicate a lot of the actual Norse gods, or what it seems like. They're like the concept behind the bones of the gods creating different uh, aspects of the world and the ground and the things. That's very similar to Norse mythology. um the geography is very Scandinavian-ish. Like it feels like it's the fjords and
Cold,
the deep.
snow.
Yes. Yep. Honor, vengeance, fate, all that is very heavily entwined in this, and kind of is what pushes the plot. um there's runes, and then the magic side of things, the blood from the gods, that sort of stuff.
And
Oh,
the
and then there
tree.
was, I think there. Yep. Well, the tree. So I think that the tree. Well, no, that was a different tree. So there's a tree across the where they find the gods, and it reminds me of Yggdrasil. So Yggdrasil is this big earth or the tree that all the different realms sit on. So that I think is going to tie into that somehow. Because the person who came out and was like, "Don't touch it." Yeah, I think it's an important aspect later on. The combat is very Norse mythology. There's the axes, the spears, the shields, that sort of thing. Warrior-esque. Uh, your oaths, all of that is very
Mm-hmm.
heavily. The Jarls, that is exactly what Norse mythology, the leaders in Norse mythology were called. I'm trying to think. The gods, obviously. But yeah, I like that aspect, but that still was not enough to make it like one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
It just it was so hard.
Yeah. It was a
I'm
no-go for me.
yeah. But the ending, man, that I almost think you might need to just skip to the last 2 hours and just listen to that. Like I said, I don't think you're gonna miss much. Um I mean, you're gonna miss a lot. I'm sure there's details that I missed that people who are like a huge fan of this listening to this, I will completely understand if you send me a hateful message of like, you fucked this up, you said this wrong, this is not correct. This book was hard. It was hard to consume and hard to retain for me.
Yeah. 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 No. And it was one of those because I listen while I work. And so I have to be able to absorb it while also doing something else. And I could not do that with this. I literally had to only be listening to this. Like, even driving sometimes was a distraction to listening because there was so much to catch. So that's probably why I didn't make it very far because I just don't have the time to devote to it like that.
Yeah. Well, that yeah, and I'm gonna say something here too for anyone who's like, you should have read it. You should have physically read it. I don't think it would have made a difference if I had actually read it, because I would have been scanning over the same paragraph trying to make sense of it
Oh, it
all,
would have
and
been worse for me because I do
yeah.
that when I read anyways. If
Mhm.
I, like if I'm in the middle of a paragraph and I get distracted by something, I have to go back to the beginning of the paragraph and reread just to make sure that I'm, you know, in the whatever. It would have been I would have burned it. Like I
Yeah.
totally would have burned it.
um so I do want to touch on like character development.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think there was a lot of character development as far as, I think that they're pretty the same at the beginning to the end, except for like Varg had more found family. He was starting to open up to the world around him, that sort of thing. Um,
And I think that for
uh,
him too, that there was he started seeing more of a purpose to his life other than just
the
the
vengeance.
vengeance for his sister. Like, and I think that that found family like really started bringing more purpose to life than just getting vengeance.
Yeah. Orcas, I would say that she was, and I can't even really say this. I want to say she's less reckless because she also is kind of considering the boys now that are with her. But she's still very reckless. Like, it's okay. Hang on. So I think it's reversed for her because she was less reckless in the beginning. She was the one who was like telling her husband, "No, let's not do that. Let's be careful. We, all this." And then she becomes reckless and
Well,
she
it's
just
more
kind of
like
disregards.
she's on a rage.
Yeah.
She's on a rage. Like when she killed that kid um at the river when they
Mm-hmm.
first took Braca. And I
Yep.
mean, she was
Yeah.
savage.
Yeah.
Savage.
So
So
I'm
it
trying to
seems
think
like
of like the
maybe
character
more her
development for her.
animalistic side like kind of took
Mm-hmm. Oh
over.
yeah. Reverting. I think reverting back into her warrior ways of what she did with the blood sworn before.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how her character develops more. Um, uh, Elvar, shit, is that how you say her name?
Elvar, I think. Sounds good.
I think that's
We'll go
right.
with that.
Um, she, I think her, and it doesn't even go into it really deep, but I think just kind of breaking away from her dad's, like, her dad wanted her to come, because so he offers her to come back. Okay, so her story was that she left her dad because her dad wanted to marry her off. She has an older brother who was her dad's,
Sure.
top pick, and all that. And so she was like, I don't want to be married off and just become some um uh incubator for babies, pretty much. And so she wanted to have battle flame and glory and everything, just like the men do. And her dad, they went back to his hall, and her dad offered her a spot to like have her own band, have her own uh
Warrior
band
circle or
of
whatever, yeah.
people. Yeah, warrior. There we go. Yeah. And she turns it down to stay with the Bloodsworn or the Battle Grim. So I think maybe that would be her character development, is just like kind of breaking away from that needing to please dad,
And growing
maybe. I don't
into
know.
her own person, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. But by the end, um, her little band of warriors going across that, even though she was close to them, they were still there for the wrong reasons. They were there for the battle flame. They were there for the money. They were there for all that. Um, and so I think, and this is even hard for me to remember, I think a lot of them ended up getting killed in that
Sorry.
last scene, except for her and Gwynne, and I think maybe one other or a couple other, but it was,
Well, I think that part of her thing, she had so much compassion, whereas you couldn't as a battlegrim warrior. Um, like, cause
if it
she,
didn't bring you money, then it
no,
didn't matter.
exactly. Like she had compassion for that little boy and she jumped into the
Yeah.
water and to save him.
Yep. Yeah, no, I don't think that there's huge development. I think that what this author is doing is literally the entire book one is setting the foundation of this world. Um and then I think the rest of it you get to explore the world more, but it is heavily just setting the world in this first book and setting the plots for what's going to come. I don't really feel like there's a lot of character development.
Yeah. So for newbies
Slight.
to fantasy, this would if you have this
Um,
urge of like, oh, I want to try fantasy, not this one.
yep,
Sorry.
yep, yeah. Now, I enjoyed the book. I enjoy no no no. I enjoyed the plot line when it happened. Um, I like the idea. I like the concept. I love the concept of the world. I love the concept of the plot line. It was hard for me to get into. Um, yeah, I guess the plot twists would be revealing the bloodline of like who Orca was, and then Varg being a tainted, um, and then
And then
yeah,
Brecca,
I
whatever
think
is
that's
happening with him.
yeah. Which I don't I God, I hate this. I hate how hard it is for me to remember all the details of the story, but it was not. I'm pretty sure they don't find him in the end of that book. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That
So
sucks.
romantic plot lines. There was a romance between Elvar and the guy, the
Gwynn or
name that I
whatever.
can't remember. No. Grind is just kind of like her
Like her bestie or
it
something.
reminds me of like a grandpa that is just like very protective, touch her die kind of thing. Um or maybe an uncle. I think uncle fits better, not grandpa. There's another guy in the Grim Battle Grim that she like it does they do even have a sex scene, but it's like very once it gets to it, it's kind of closed curtains situation.
Lame.
Um yeah. But like it's and then I do love that whenever okay, so a lot of their word usage is very Norse too, like humping. That's how they describe having sex in there. Like you going back there behind the thing and humping all every night, and we can hear you. Like that was how they were talking to her about
Yes,
sleeping with this other
that's
guy. And
true.
yep. Um, hmm. Favorite moment for this book is definitely when uh Varg has the moment of he has this pivotal moment where he is the guy who was kind of traveling with him and the group that wasn't a part of the Bloodsworn. He presented Varg with this opportunity that he could give him that sight. He could do that thing for him, but he had to commit to him. He had to do an oath to him and go with him. Um, and the guy reveals just kind of how nasty he is and how he just backstabbed this entire group that he was with and takes the wife of the main girl, which is the Sether witch, uh, in that little community. Um, right then, Varg has the opportunity to choose to go with him and get the thing that he's after, or stay with the Battle Grim or the Bloodsworn, and that's part of the family that he builds up there. Uh, so that little friend that he was connecting with, and they were like becoming really good friends, he dies. He died. That's another sad. That one was sadder than Orca's husband dying. That one got me. Um, and he chooses to stay with the Bloodsworn. And after that, they tell him everything. That was the best, my favorite part of
That
the
would
whole
have been
thing.
mine too. In the part that I read, that I listened to, my favorite part would probably be probably when Vesely heals Brecca.
Yeah.
Because she was so mistrusting of Vesely. I'm sorry. When Vesely heals Orca, not Brecca. Brecca's gone. When, after the battle at the whatever.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
so Vesely heals her. And that was when Orca said, no, you take Spurt and you guys go hide because they'll kill you if they find you. And apparently they said, fuck that. We're not doing that. We're going to follow you and protect you. But
Yeah.
but I thought that was a very genuine, like it showed the genuineness of this creature
The
that had
depth
been
of a creature that's
that had had such a bad rep, but this creature was like showed a good side of it. That's what I
Did
liked.
you read the part with the troll and his balls?
When they yes.
And his balls are swinging, and it's like the detail, guys. I cannot stress enough the amount of detail this author put into the book. Like I said, amazing cinematic movie. Like probably a Lord of the Rings style
Probably.
book or movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so overall rating for me for this book, I would do a 3.5 or 3.7-ish in that range. Like I love, like I said, the plot line, all of that. I really get lost in the detail. That is my biggest thing that kind of is hard for me, and just all the stuff behind the curtains. It's hard for me to get invested into these characters until the very end, really. So I want to say 3.5, 3.7.
What about the narration?
Oh gosh. That one's hard. His voice. Okay, all the words were very clear. The lack of emotion, there wasn't a lot of emotion. There wasn't a lot of range between the different characters. I'm gonna have to do 3.5, 3.7 on that too. That was, I think that was very old school style narration for me. More of just reading the book to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, you're at a 3.5.
I would do overall. I would do a 3.7. For the overall, just because the the ending was fantastic. The battles were amazing. The battles are my favorite parts because of that's where the detail was really good. It was hard because it was three different stories and it was jumping and it was hard for me to get connected to one character. So yeah, I think a 3.7 is probably, yeah, my overall.
Okay. So for me, again, I DNF'd it. I couldn't anymore. um, I think that the story itself, I would probably give it a 3, maybe, because I do see that the stories could have, there's a lot of potential had you been able to listen to the whole thing, like at least to the end. Um, there was, I guess, some good stuff there for 2 hours. But for 16 hours to get there, yeah, no. There's so much. And when I say there was so much detail, the rock was round and brown, and there were two rocks, and the other one was a little yellowish, but maybe jagged. But and then the boy walking along, the snot dripping out of his nose had to be flicked. I mean, fucking hell. I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, get on with it. But
Yeah.
so I think that there's potential. So for me, the story itself would be like a 3, 2.5, 2.7 ish, maybe 3. Um, but the delivery, and I'm not talking about the narration yet, but the delivery of the story was for me like 1, because I clearly DNF'd it. So, but again, I am not yucking on anybody else's yum. Like, I'm not a big fantasy reader. So take that with the grain of salt that it is, honestly. Like, I'm just, we're just being honest and authentic with who we are and how we feel about, the things that we read. So this is just me giving my opinion of it. The narration, I kind of agree with you on that it was just kind of old school. Like, there was no differentiation between a female even and a male that I could easily pick up. And then the different people, they all just had the same tone, dialect, or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, Colin's voice isn't bad. Like, his voice
No.
he has a nice voice. It's not like a grating kind of voice. So, I don't know. I guess I would give that a 2.7 also. Maybe a 3. Overall for the book for me would be probably Yeah. Maybe like a 2 point, probably 2.7.
It would be a yeah.
So yeah. Uh, yeah. I don't want to like bash on the author because I'm sure he's a fantastic author and what he does in his
Oh
genre is
no.
amazing. It's just
Yeah.
not my cup of tea. I did not enjoy it
Yeah.
at all. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that.
And that's something I do want to make very, very, if you've stuck around to this point and you've heard everything, I need this to be adamantly clear for you. This book was not bad.
No.
It just was not. My ADHD could not find the plot line underneath all the detail. But that does not mean it wasn't badly written.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't bad. The world was so crafted and so great. Um, I'm just like Kathy said, giving you my honest opinion for how it made me feel.
Yeah.
I think that there are people out there who would rate this a 5 out of 5 all the way across the board, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that that is a legit and a good rating for that person.
Yeah.
I can't for me.
Yeah. Same. So yeah. So don't and also for the narrator. And both Randy and I are we are narrator fans. Like we love our audibles. Um I'm like I know so many of the narrators, and it's not that Colin is a bad narrator. That is not at all what we're saying. It didn't do anything for me
Yep.
and Randy. So,
Yep. Yep.
again, you know,
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if someone who read it with, because I have a feeling that that was probably an agreement. Like, I want this to be an older style narration where it feels like a storytelling, because that is also very heavily Norse. There's probably a reason for the way that his voice was. But if it was someone who had a lot of emotion and very different voices, I don't know if that would have changed much for me anyways.
right.
So even saying that he had the old school narration style, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at
No,
all.
no, no, not at all. Yeah. So again, we I'm just going to reiterate what she just said. We're giving an honest review for how this book made us feel and our own personal thoughts. I am in no way saying, and neither is Randy, that the author is crap. He is not. Clearly, he is very, very good at what he does in the whole fantasy realm. And also, the narrator, also very skilled. Because let me tell you, to read all that, one, I probably think he would need a lot of caffeine to stay awake through all that. But two, like that's a lot of hard words and names and stuff to read. So, yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to Colin on that for sure. Just I think for me it was just the whole cup of tea was no bueno for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nope. I think that pretty much wraps it up and hits everything. Final thoughts are this was a great book underneath all the detail.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
All right, guys. So give us an idea of what you think. Do you agree? Do you venomously disagree? I would love to hear it, and I would love to hear your point of view. And we will never, ever, ever, ever shame you
No.
for disagreeing with
I
us.
will
Like,
say
that is
be
something we
respectful
enjoy.
because we've tried
Yeah,
to be very
we're
respectful.
being respectful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just be respectful. But yeah, absolutely. If you completely disagree with us, we want to hear it.
Yep. And let us know if you think that there is another fantasy out there that Kathy should try first to get into the fantasy world.
Yeah.
Or not first, because this was her
And it
first.
has to be
But
audio. Audio.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. Our next book that we are reviewing. Oh, are we gonna do you think we'll do that other one first?
Depends on when you get done.
Yeah. Oh, I got 2 hours left. Give me a car ride and I'll have it done. So the next, well, I was trying to think if we'll do this one before we do the next one. So, Curse of Shadows and Thorns, by J.L. Andrews, and it is narrated by
Stina Nielsen.
There you go. And that'll be our next review. So
Yeah. And fans of JLA, Jennifer Armentrout's books, the audiobooks, Stina has narrated most of those, so you all will be familiar with her voice. She does a great job.
Yep. Yep. And then on the end of that one, we have an awesome announcement to tell you guys that we're so excited
Yep,
about.
but we're not going
So
to tell you yet.
even if you want to jump to the end of that review and listen into our announcement, that's fine.
That's fine. But
We're
I
so
wouldn't
excited.
because it's a really good book, so don't. Listen to the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah. 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 But also read the book so you can listen to the whole thing so you're not hearing spoilers
Yes.
because it's a good
Yes,
book.
exactly. All right, y'all.
All right, guys. Talk to you
See
later.
you next time.